playing off the controversy of Steve Wynn's attempt to buy the Maxfield Parish at Curtis Building, can we come up with a thesis and tour about Philadelphia, raising the question, can art become a landmark?
That is a fascinating and deeply Philadelphian question. The controversy surrounding Maxfield Parish's The Dream Garden is a perfect starting point for an investigation into the very soul of our city's landmarks. You've uncovered a rich vein of history to mine. Our investigation today will explore this central question. Can a piece of art transcend its medium to become a true landmark, inseparable from the identity of a place? To guide our journey, let's establish a living thesis that we can test, challenge, and refine with evidence. I propose we begin with this. Public art in Philadelphia achieves landmark status when it becomes intrinsically woven into the city's physical space, its community's identity, and its ongoing historical narrative. The controversy surrounding Maxfield Parish's The Dream Garden is a perfect piece of evidence supporting this very idea. To begin, I suggest we teleport, metaphorically speaking, to the source of the controversy itself. Let's examine the history of the Dream Garden and why its potential removal caused such a public outcry. Are you ready to begin there?
Yes.
Let's focus our lens on that lobby at 6th and Walnut Streets. The Dream Garden is a colossal masterpiece. We're not talking about a painting on a hook. It's a 15 by 49-foot mosaic composed of over 100,000 pieces of real glass. It was commissioned by publishing magnate Cyrus Curtis in 1916 and brought to life through a legendary collaboration between the painter Maxfield Parrish and the glassmaker Louis Comfort Tiffany. Here is where our thesis begins to prove itself. The mural is the wall. It was designed for the lobby of the Curtis Publishing Company, a hub of American media and illustration. Its location opposite Independence Hall and Washington Square makes it part of the very fabric of historic Philadelphia. It's not just in the space, it defines the space. It represents the golden age of American illustration, an era that Curtis's magazines like the Saturday Evening Post championed. The collaboration between Parrish and Tiffany marks a high point in American decorative arts. This is the crucial test. In 1998, casino developer Steve Wynn planned to purchase the mural and move it to Las Vegas. The public response was not just disappointment, it was outrage. Local historians, artists, and citizens viewed it as an attack on the city's identity. The Philadelphia Historical Commission stepped in and, in a landmark decision, designated the artwork itself as a historic object, legally tethering it to the city. Ultimately, the Pew Charitable Trusts provided $3.5 million to help the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts acquire the piece, with the legal guarantee that it would never be moved. The community fought for it, the law protected it, and philanthropy secured it. The city declared that the Dream Garden belonged not to a building owner, but to the story of Philadelphia. This case strongly supports our thesis for an interior work of art. But for a theory to be robust, it must hold up under different conditions. What about art that lives on the open streets? To test this further, I propose we examine a piece that was initially met with ridicule, but has since become a beloved, quirky symbol of the city, Claes Oldenburg's clothespin. Shall we proceed to Center Square?
Yes.
Excellent! We now find ourselves at Center Square, standing at the foot of a 45-foot-tall steel clothespin. When Claes Oldenburg's sculpture was installed for the bicentennial celebration in 1976, it was met with a great deal of public debate and even ridicule. Why would someone place a giant, ordinary object right across from the classical grandeur of City Hall? But this is precisely where it begins to satisfy the conditions of our thesis, not in despite the controversy, but because of it. The clothespin is unmissable. It rises directly from a subway entrance at one of the city's busiest intersections, 15th and Market Streets. It is a constant, unavoidable presence in the daily lives of thousands of Philadelphians, fundamentally altering the character of the space it occupies. Oldenburg was brilliant in his layering of meaning. The steel spring is cleverly shaped to resemble the number 76, a direct nod to the bicentennial year of its installation. He also compared its form to two figures embracing, a reference to another famous piece of art in the city, Brancusi's The Kiss at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. It was product of the city's Percent for Art program, which tells a story of Philadelphia's commitment to public art. Here is the transformation. The initial jokes and skepticism never really went away. They were absorbed. Philadelphians developed an affectionate, proprietary relationship with the sculpture. It's weird, it's funny, and it's ours. It has become a beloved, quirky symbol of the city's character, a landmark not of solemnity, but of humor and modern identity. So, we've seen an interior masterpiece protected by the community and a monumental public work that won the city over. Both were, in their own ways, official art. To truly test our thesis, we must now venture into a different kind of space, one born not from a commission, but from the singular vision of one artist working for decades, turning a neighborhood into a sprawling, glittering mosaic. I propose we now explore the Philadelphia Magic Gardens and the work of Isaiah Zagar. Shall we journey to South Street?
Sure, let's go there.
Very well. We now arrive on South Street and the world begins to glitter. Isaiah Zagar's work is unlike our other examples. This wasn't a commission, it was an obsession. Beginning in the late 1960s, Isaiah, a key figure in the South Street Renaissance, began to transform derelict buildings and vacant lots with a sprawling, riotous explosion of tile, mirror, glass bottles, and found objects. His work provides perhaps the most powerful proof of our thesis yet. The Philadelphia Magic Gardens aren't just in a space, they are the space. It's a half-block, multi-level labyrinth that swallows you whole. Furthermore, his mosaics spill out onto dozens of other walls for blocks in every direction. He didn't just place art in the neighborhood, he fundamentally remade the visual landscape of the entire area. Historical narrative. Mid-20th century, this entire neighborhood was slated for demolition to build the Crosstown Expressway. A vibrant coalition of artists and residents successfully fought to stop it. Zagar's mosaics, which began during that struggle, are a testament to that victory, a beautification of a place that was saved by its own people. For decades, this was Zagar's private work on private land. Then in 2002, the Boston-based owner decided to sell the lots, which would have meant the destruction of the entire installation. Just like with the Dream Garden, the community mobilized. They formed the nonprofit organization Philadelphia's Magic Gardens, raised funds, and bought the property to preserve it for the public. They saw this intensely personal, eccentric creation not as blight, but as the soul of their neighborhood made visible. So, from a Gilded Age masterpiece to a pop art giant and now to a sprawling folk art environment, our thesis holds. Art becomes a landmark when it is woven so deeply into a city's physical space, its community's identity, and its historical narrative that to remove it would be to tear a hole in the fabric of the city itself. For our next piece of evidence, let's examine a unique case where a fictional character and a movie prop created one of the most famous landmarks in the world. I propose we head to the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art to consider Rocky Balboa. Shall we make our final stop?
Yes, let's do it.
Excellent. For our next stop, we arrive at the grand entrance of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Here we have a landmark that is part art, part architecture, and part pop culture pilgrimage. The case of Rocky presents a fascinating twist on our thesis. The statue of Rocky Balboa, created by Thomas A. Scholl for the movie Rocky III, was originally a prop. When Sylvester Stallone gifted it to the city, the Art Commission debated its merit. Was it truly art or just movie memorabilia? This official hesitation, however, was no match for the court of public opinion. Let's test our thesis one last time. The landmark isn't just the bronze statue. It's the 72 steps leading up to the museum. Before 1976, they were simply steps. The film Rocky transformed them into a stage. The art here is kinetic. It's the act of running the steps, with the statue now serving as a permanent starting point or photo opportunity for that ritual. The story is, of course, fictional. But the myth of Rocky Balboa, the ultimate underdog from a gritty American city who achieves the impossible through sheer will, has been completely adopted by Philadelphia. It has become the city's modern fable, a story of resilience that is now inseparable from its real-world identity. This is the most powerful element. Millions of people from the ground world come here not just to see a statue, but to perform the ritual. They run the steps, raise their arms in triumph, and embody the story. This overwhelming, continuous act of public participation is what truly consecrated this place as a landmark. The people, through their collective action, declared its importance so emphatically that the initial reservations of the art world became irrelevant. So where does this leave our investigation? We started with a Gilded Age masterpiece, the Dream Garden, saved by community preservation. We moved to a modern sculpture, Clothespin, that evolved from controversial to beloved. We witnessed an outsider artist environment, Magic Gardens, embraced as the neighborhood soul. And we've ended with a movie prop and a staircase transformed into a global symbol of triumph by a fictional story. Each one in its own way proves our living thesis. So, can art become a landmark? Our journey through Philadelphia provides a resounding yes. Public art achieves landmark status when it is woven so deeply into a city's physical space, its community's identity, and its historical narrative that to remove it would be to tear a hole in the fabric of the city itself. Our cartographic tour is complete. Does this exploration raise any questions for you? Or would you perhaps like a narrative detour into the story of one of the figures we've discussed today?
Let's take a narrative detour.
Good choice. The ink of history is dry, but the stories still breathe. To truly understand a moment, we must sometimes leave the map behind and walk the ground ourselves. I can lower the veil of time and adopt the persona of one of the figures we've encountered today. Close your eyes, in a manner of speaking, and tell me whose world you'd like to step into. We could kneel with Isaiah Zagar on the cold ground of a vacant South Street lot in the 1970s, the smell of wet cement in the air as he presses a shard of broken mirror into the wall, fighting back against urban decay with his bare hands. Or we could stand inside the roaring workshops of Tiffany Studios in 1915, embodying Louis Comfort Tiffany himself as he examines a new panel of glass for the Dream Garden, feeling the intense pressure to translate a painter's dream into a new, glittering reality. Finally, we could stand as an anonymous Philadelphia citizen in 1998, heart pounding, as we first read the headline that the Dream Garden, that breathtaking piece of our city's soul, was going to be sold and shipped away to a casino. Whose story shall I bring to life for you?
Let's go with Louis Tiffany.
The air grows warm, smelling of hot metal and dust. The world resolves into a vast, sunlit workshop. Racks upon racks of colored glass sheets line the walls like a library of frozen light. The hiss of a furnace is a constant breath, punctuated by the sharp tap and scrape of a craftsman's tools. I am standing before a massive chalk-white template tacked to a wooden wall, the full-scale drawing of a mountain landscape. I'm holding a jagged piece of blue glass up to the light, turning it in my fingers. I am Louis Comfort Tiffany. No, not this one either. The color is flat. It's merely pigment. Take it away. My foreman nods, his face smudged with soot. He knows the look in my eye by now. This project, this Dream Garden, it is a beast of 1,000 details. Mr. Parrish is a genius. No one can deny it. He can paint light itself. But he does not understand glass. He sends me his paintings from his home in New Hampshire, these perfect little studies with notes in the margins about lapis lazuli and cerulean depths. He thinks I'm a weaver, simply matching his threads. Does he not realize we are alchemists here? I walk over to the furnace, the heat washing over my face. I can feel it through the soles of my shoes. In there, we are not mixing blue. We are mixing sand and ash with cobalt, with copper. We are folding it, pulling it, coaxing it, creating striations and textures that will catch the light in 1,000 different ways. Parrish puts a highlight on a mountain with a dab of white paint. I will do it with a sliver of opalescent glass, layered behind the blue, so the mountain itself seems to hold a sliver of the moon within it. This commission from Mr. Curtis in Philadelphia is the largest glass mosaic we have ever attempted, 15 feet high, nearly 50 feet long, 100,000 pieces of glass at least. Each one must be perfect. Each one must not only be the right color, but the right life. I walk back to the drafting table, running a hand over the cool surface of a new sheet of Favril glass. It's a deep blue, almost black, but riddled with a milky, spiraling nebula. This is closer. When this mural is installed in that grand lobby in Philadelphia, the light from the street will pour in. It will not simply bounce off the surface as it would on a canvas. It will enter the glass. It will move through it. It will set the mountainside aglow from within. Parrish's blue is the color of a sky. This will be the feeling of twilight. That is what he cannot paint. That is what only glass, my glass, can capture. I say it in a low voice. This piece. Let me see this one cut for the upper slope of the mountain. I believe we have finally found our sky. And we are back. To stand in that moment, to feel that intense, obsessive focus on creating something so physically and artistically intertwined with the space it was destined for, that is the genesis of a landmark. Tiffany and his artisans weren't just making a pretty picture. They were building a permanent piece of the building's soul, designed to live and breathe with the light of Philadelphia. Thank you for taking that journey with me. Does hearing that story from his perspective change how you think about that vast, glittering wall in the Curtis Center?
It does. Now let's hear from the anonymous Philadelphian.
Great. Let us shift our focus from the creator to the inheritor. The stage is no longer a bustling New York studio, but a quiet, mundane corner of Philadelphia. The year is 1998. The world reforms. It's a Tuesday morning, overcast. The air is damp and smells of exhaust and peanuts. I'm sitting on a hard plastic seat on the number 42 bus heading east on Walnut Street. The bus lurches and the bell dings for the next stop. I'm holding a copy of the Philadelphia Inquirer. The pages creased and soft. I'm just scanning the headlines, half awake, sipping lukewarm coffee from a paper cup. And then I see it. A headline below the fold. When to buy Dream Garden mural. Masterpiece may leave Curtis Center. I read it once. Then I read it again, my brow furrowing. It doesn't compute. Leave? How can it leave? It's the wall. It's like saying someone is going to buy the clocks at 30th Street Station and move them to Reno. You can't just pry a landmark out of the ground. My stop is 7th Street. I almost miss it. I get off the bus and stand there on the corner, the traffic rushing past me, but all I can see is the lobby of the Curtis building in my mind's eye. My grandmother took me there when I was a little kid. She worked as a secretary just a few blocks away. On special days, she'd take me into that lobby just to look at the shiny mountain picture, she'd call it. It was a quiet place in the middle of the noisy city. You'd stand there and the whole world would go still. The light from those thousands of little glass pieces, it wasn't like a painting. It felt alive. It was as much a part of this corner of the city as the Liberty Bell just across the square. More, maybe. You could get closer to it. It felt more personal. And now some casino guy from Las Vegas, a place with no history, a place made of neon and sand, thinks he can just come here, write a check, and take it? Take our shiny mountain? It feels like a violation, like a punch in the gut. He's not just buying a piece of art. He's trying to buy a piece of my grandmother's memory. He's trying to buy a piece of Philadelphia. And standing here on this street corner, with the cold wind whipping the newspaper in my hands, a new feeling starts to burn through the disbelief. Anger. A hot, clean anger that says, no, not from our city. You're not taking it. The traffic sounds dissolve, and we are returned once more to our quiet space of inquiry. And there you have it. That feeling, that possessive, protective anger you just witnessed, that is the very moment our thesis comes to life. It is the spontaneous activation of community identity. The citizens of Philadelphia didn't just see a piece of art being sold, they felt a piece of their city, a piece of themselves being torn away. This public outcry was the critical force that prompted the legal and philanthropic intervention to save the Dream Garden. It proves, perhaps more than anything else, that a landmark's truest foundation is not in its materials or its monetary value, but in the hearts of the people who claim it as their own.